The morning sunlight streamed through the windows of a small single-family home in Tampa, Florida, bathing the living room in bright light. Melissa Williams was focused on her graphic design work at her desk in her small home office. Beside her, her 6-year-old daughter Ava was drawing with crayons. "Mommy, look. I drew a unicorn." Ava proudly held up her picture. Melissa paused her work and smiled at her daughter's creation. "That's wonderful. I love how you used the colors. You have such an artistic eye." She gently stroked Ava's golden hair, genuinely impressed by her creativity. Melissa herself had a passion for art, but her parents, especially her father Richard, had always pushed her to pursue a practical career. Now, she worked from home as a freelance graphic designer while raising Ava on her own. "Ava, your grandparents might call today. Please be ready." Ava tilted her head. "Grandma and Grandpa don't call very often, do they?" Melissa let out a faint sigh. Despite living in the same city of Tampa, her parents rarely kept in touch. Her mother Barbara was a retired high school teacher, and Richard owned a successful local real estate company. They held conservative values and emphasized traditional family structures. "They're busy," Melissa told her daughter, but the real reason was different. 3 years ago, Melissa had divorced her husband Trevor. He had remarried another woman, barely paid child support, and made little effort to stay in touch with Ava. After the divorce, Melissa's parents offered almost no support, only criticizing her for not maintaining her marriage. "I want to see Noah," Ava said. Noah was the 1-year-old son of Melissa's sister Caroline and her husband Brad. "Yes, let's invite them sometime." Caroline seemed to have a perfect marriage. Brad worked at Richard's company and had been steadily climbing the corporate ladder. They lived in a large suburban home and had welcomed their son Noah a year ago. Melissa's smartphone rang, and the screen displayed a message from Caroline. "We're gathering at the cafe on Davis Island this weekend. Mom and Dad will be there too. Want to come with Ava?" Melissa hesitated a bit. Time with family always stirred complicated emotions. Since childhood, Melissa had never lived up to her parents' expectations and was always treated as second best. Meanwhile, Caroline had been their parents' favorite from childhood, participating in activities they approved of like ballet, piano, and cheerleading. Despite Melissa's artistic talents, she was forced to pursue a practical career. "Are we going?" Ava asked hopefully. Melissa smiled. "Yes, we'll go." That night, after Ava went to bed, Melissa sat on the living room sofa and opened an old photo album. In childhood photos, Caroline was always centered while Melissa was either at the edge or completely missing from many pictures. She closed the album and gazed out the window. Her phone rang, displaying the name of Jessica. "Hello, Jess. Mel, how are you? Any plans for the weekend?" Jessica was Melissa's best friend and had been a great emotional support for her and Ava after the divorce. "I'm meeting with family," Melissa said. "Caroline invited us. Will you be okay?" The last gathering was. "I know," Melissa sighed. At the last family gathering, she had noticed how her parents doted on Noah while barely acknowledging Ava. "But I'm going for Ava's sake. She needs family." "You and Ava are strong," Jessica said. "Call me if anything happens." Melissa rose from the sofa and peeked into Ava's room. Her daughter was sleeping peacefully. The walls of her room were decorated with colorful drawings. Ava was an intelligent girl with artistic talent, especially in acting and imagination. Melissa wanted to nurture her daughter's abilities and give Ava the freedom and support she never had herself. "You're such a special child," Melissa whispered to her sleeping daughter. "Someday, we'll show everyone." The next morning, after sending design proposals to clients via email, Melissa checked her calendar. Ava's birthday was approaching. "I need to plan the party," she reminded herself. "Ava wants the whole family to come." She took a deep breath and dialed her parents' and Caroline's numbers. While family relations were maintained on the surface, Melissa felt an emotional distance between herself and her parents. Nevertheless, she was determined to keep trying for her daughter's sake. The living room was decorated with a unicorn theme for the birthday party. Pastel-colored balloons hung from the ceiling, handmade garlands adorned the walls, and a banner reading, "Happy Birthday AVA," was placed on the table. Melissa had started preparations a week in advance and had a special unicorn-shaped cake from Whole Foods in the refrigerator. "What time is Ava's party?" Barbara asked over the phone. 2 days before the birthday, Melissa was calling her parents to confirm. "Saturday at 2 p.m. Ava is really looking forward to seeing you all." "Yes, of course we'll come." "Should we bring anything?" Barbara replied in a businesslike tone. "Nothing needed. Just your presence," Melissa said. When she called Caroline next, her sister answered with excitement in her voice. "Looking forward to it. I bought Noah new party clothes. A J. Crew sweater and chinos, he looks so adorable." "That's lovely." Ava is excited to see her cousin too. "Brad will come too, after his meeting with Dad," Caroline said. "Their company project is wrapping up." Melissa hung up and checked her list. Everything was on track. On the birthday, Ava woke up excited early in the morning. She put on her specially chosen dress, pale pink with unicorn embroidery, and helped her mother prepare for the party. "When are Grandma and Grandpa coming?" Ava asked repeatedly. "Is Noah coming too?" "At 2 p.m., everyone will be here," Melissa assured her. Around noon, Jessica arrived and began helping with the final decorations. "Mel, you're amazing. This party looks absolutely adorable." Melissa smiled, but her smile quickly faded. Her mobile phone rang. It was Barbara calling. "Hello, Mom?" "Melissa, I'm sorry. We can't make it today," Barbara said. "Richard's old friends dropped by unexpectedly. We need to meet with them. Tell Ava we're sorry." Melissa was speechless. "But Ava was really looking forward to seeing you." "Can't be helped." "Another time," Barbara said dismissively and hung up. Disappointed, Melissa consoled Ava by telling her that Caroline's family would still come. Ava looked a bit sad but cheered up when she saw the cake. At 2 p.m., the party's start time, Melissa waited for the doorbell to ring. Instead, her mobile phone rang. It was a message from Caroline. "Noah has a fever so we can't make it. Sorry, next time." Melissa was stunned. She looked at Ava, who was standing by the window, looking outside with expectant eyes. "Mom, where is everyone?" Ava asked. Melissa took a deep breath. "It seems Noah isn't feeling well. Caroline's family can't come." "What about Grandma and Grandpa?" "They also had something urgent come up." Tears welled up in Ava's eyes. "Do Grandma and Grandpa not like me?" Melissa's heart nearly broke. "No, they just couldn't make it today," she hugged her daughter. "But it's okay, we'll have a good time ourselves. And Aunt Jessica is here too." Jessica quickly understood the situation and suggested, "Why don't we call some neighborhood friends? Emily and Sarah might be available today." Melissa nodded and made some quick calls. Fortunately, 2 of Ava's friends and their mothers were able to come, making for a small but enjoyable party. The children laughed, played games, and ate cake. Ava seemed to have regained some of her spirits, but Melissa didn't miss the loneliness behind her smile. That night, after Ava went to bed, an exhausted Melissa sat on the sofa checking social media on her phone. There was a new post on Caroline's Instagram. When she saw the screen, Melissa's heart froze. There was a photo of Barbara and Richard at Caroline's house, holding Noah in their arms, smiling in front of a cake that read, "Happy 1 year and 7 months." Noah was wearing a party hat and looking delighted. The timestamp on the photo was the same time as Ava's party. Melissa's hands began to tremble. Scrolling further, she saw another photo of Richard holding Noah high with the caption, "Our family heir." When she read Caroline's post saying, "It was a spontaneous party, but I'm glad my parents could make it," something broke inside Melissa. Shaking with anger, she called her mother. After several rings, Barbara answered. "Melissa? What is it, so late at night?" Mom, what was that urgent matter? Melissa's voice was ice cold. You were at Caroline's place. After a moment of silence, Barbara answered without making excuses. A girl's birthday isn't worth celebrating. Caroline gave birth to a boy. Boys carry on the family name. Melissa gasped. I want to speak to Dad too. Just a moment, I'll put him on. A brief conversation was heard on the other end, and then Richard's voice came through. Melissa, what is it? Why didn't you come to Ava's birthday? Richard answered coldly. Girls are meaningless. Men carry on the family line. I will eventually pass my company to Noah. That's the Williams family way. Hot tears streamed down Melissa's face. You've hurt Ava. She's starting to doubt her own worth. This is unforgivable. Don't get emotional. Face reality. Boys are more important to a family than girls, Richard said cruelly. Melissa quietly hung up. She sat on the sofa for a while, wiping away tears with trembling hands. Then she stood up and looked in on Ava. Moonlight illuminated her daughter's peaceful sleeping face. Melissa sat beside Ava's bed and gently stroked her soft golden hair. You are very special, Melissa whispered. Someday, we'll show everyone. She quietly left the room and returned to the living room. She picked up her smartphone and looked at Caroline's post again. The smiling family in the photo. Only she and Ava were missing. Melissa took a deep breath and gazed out the window with a determined expression. This isn't right, she told herself. I need to change things for Ava's sake. She texted Jessica, I need to talk. I need your help. The reply came immediately, anything, just say it. Melissa smiled quietly. It's time to show the world Ava's talent. A week later, Melissa found an advertisement in the local paper for the Tampa Bay Performing Arts Center. Children's Theater Workshop, open to ages 6 to 12. She cut out the ad and showed it to Ava at breakfast. Ava, would you be interested in this? It's an acting class, Melissa asked her daughter. The teachers will show you how to create plays. Ava looked at the ad, her eyes lighting up. Acting? On a real stage? Yes. You'll practice with teachers and friends, and there'll even be a small performance at the end. I want to try. Ava exclaimed excitedly. My teacher praised me in the school play too. Melissa smiled. I know. You were really good. That weekend, Melissa took Ava to the first day of the workshop. The class consisted of 10 children and was held in a bright studio at the Tampa Bay Performing Arts Center. The instructor, Amanda Jones, was a former Broadway dancer who had returned to Tampa after retirement to teach children the basics of acting. At first, Ava was a bit nervous, but she quickly adapted to the class and actively participated in self-introductions and simple improvisational acting. By the end of the class, her face was glowing with excitement. Mom. It was so much fun. Ava said as soon as she got into the car. Amanda said my improvisation was the best. That's wonderful. Melissa was genuinely happy to see her daughter's passion. On the final day of the workshop, the children performed a short play with family and friends invited as audience members. Ava played the lead role in a modern version of Sleeping Beauty. She memorized her lines perfectly and performed with rich emotion. After the performance, Amanda approached Melissa. Ava has a special talent, she said with a serious expression. In my long career, I've never seen a child with such natural ability. Melissa nodded. Thank you. She really loves acting. Have you considered a professional path for her? Amanda asked. I have a friend, Susan Collins, who's a child talent agent. May I introduce Ava to her? Melissa hesitated for a moment. This could evolve from a mere hobby into something much bigger. I'll ask Ava, she answered. That evening, Melissa told Ava about Amanda's suggestion. Ava, do you really want to do more acting? There might be opportunities to appear on television or in movies. Ava's face lit up with joy. Really? I could be on TV? It's possible. But you'd need to practice a lot, and there would be auditions. It won't be easy. I want to try. Ava answered without hesitation. Mom, please. Seeing her daughter's passion, Melissa made her decision. All right. Let's meet Amanda's friend. The following week, Melissa and Ava visited Susan Collins' office. Susan was a 45-year-old former actress who now worked as an agent specializing in child actors. After seeing Ava's audition video, she had immediately requested a meeting. Hello, Ava, Susan greeted her warmly. Your acting was wonderful. Ava smiled shyly. She definitely has something, Susan told Melissa. A natural presence and the ability to express emotions to the camera. Let's start with local commercials. Melissa took a deep breath. Could you explain the contract details? Susan explained carefully. Melissa asked questions, negotiated terms, and finally signed the contract. Over the next few weeks, Melissa adjusted her freelance work schedule to take Ava to auditions and rehearsals. For her first audition, Ava landed a TV commercial for Tampa's International Plaza shopping mall. Look. I'm on TV. Ava would exclaim joyfully whenever her commercial aired. Melissa's graphic design business also began to expand, allowing her to increase her income to support Ava's activities. Jessica started helping with Ava's schedule management, becoming an unofficial manager. Jess, thank you, Melissa said. This would have been impossible without you. Don't mention it, Jessica shrugged. Ava is a special child. I want to support her. 3 months later, Ava got the opportunity to guest star on a local television station's children's program, Tampa Kids Club. She conversed naturally with the host and made the audience laugh in a short skit. Your daughter is truly charming, the show's producer told Melissa. We'd love to have her back. Ava's reputation began to spread, and Susan's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Then, one day, a phone call from her would change Melissa's life. Melissa, wonderful news, Susan's voice trembled with excitement. We've received an audition request for Ava from a nationally broadcast drama series. It's a popular show called Street Point Mary's Hospital. Melissa gasped. National broadcast? Yes. It's for the role of a sick girl, scheduled to appear in 3 episodes. The audition is in Orlando next week. Melissa hesitated. Going to Orlando would cost money, and she would need to adjust her work schedule. But seeing the expectation on Ava's face, she made up her mind. We'll go, she said. I want to give Ava this chance. On the day of the audition, Ava was nervous, but her natural acting and charisma captivated the casting director. A week later, they received the good news that she had been selected. Yay! Ava jumped up and down. Mom, I'm going to be on a TV drama. The filming would take place in Los Angeles, requiring Melissa and Ava to stay for 2 weeks. Melissa continued her work remotely while accompanying Ava. The shoot in Los Angeles was a big challenge, but Ava shined. Her acting was highly praised by the director and cast, and her role was expanded to additional episodes. That child has magic, the lead actress told Melissa. The camera loves her. When the drama aired, Ava gained immediate attention. Tampa media featured her as Tampa's rising star, and Melissa's social media followers increased dramatically. Fans began to emerge, looking forward to Ava's next appearance. Then, one day, an unexpected phone call came. It was from Barbara. Melissa? Barbara's voice was friendlier than usual. I saw Ava on television. Why didn't you tell us? Melissa answered calmly. I didn't think you'd be interested. Ava's birthday seemed less important to you than Noah's party. Barbara was at a loss for words. Well, anyway, congratulations. Soon after, a message arrived from Caroline as well. Ava is amazing. Would you like to come to a family dinner? Dad wants to see Ava too. Melissa smiled wryly. My schedule is busy. Maybe next time, she replied. Ava's success continued, and she received offers for bigger roles. She was selected for a supporting role in a popular children's movie series, Moonlight Adventure. Melissa and Jessica formally established a business partnership, founding a small talent management company called Starlight Management. And Melissa was most surprised when Richard called her directly for the first time. Melissa, Richard's voice had respect in it for the first time. I have to acknowledge Ava's talent. Would she consider appearing in a commercial for my company? Family discount, of course. Melissa responded coolly. Ava donates more than half of her usual fee to charity. But her schedule is already full. After hanging up, Melissa looked at Jessica, and they laughed together. You did it, Jessica said. You showed them. Not yet, Melissa answered. This is just the beginning. That evening, Melissa sat with Ava in the living room of their Tampa home and discussed her future. Ava, Mommy wants to ask you something important. Do you really enjoy this work? Do you want to continue? Ava nodded with a serious expression. Yes. I love acting. I want to try many more roles. I understand, Melissa held her daughter's hand. Then, how about chasing bigger opportunities? What do you think about moving to Los Angeles? Ava's eyes widened. Los Angeles? Where Hollywood is. Yes. That might be the best place for your career. After thinking for a moment, Ava answered with a smile. Let's go. We'll live in a new house in Los Angeles. Melissa hugged her daughter. That's right. A new house, a new beginning. She looked out the window. The lights of Tampa glowed in the night sky. There were many memories here. Both good and bad. But it was time to move forward. Mornings in Los Angeles start with different colors than in Tampa. The light streaming through the windows of a modern townhouse in West Hollywood tinted the white walls of the living room golden. Melissa opened her laptop on a large glass table, reviewing documents with the Starlight Management logo. Mom, look! Ava shouted excitedly. She came running with a poster for her new movie. My name is in the credits. Melissa smiled. Indeed. Moonlight Adventure, Eternal Promise, starring Ava Williams. She gently stroked her daughter's hair. I'm proud of you. 1 year after their move, Ava had become known as one of the most successful child actors in Hollywood. With her natural acting ability and charisma, she had won the lead role in the children's movie series, Moonlight Adventure, and now her name appeared prominently on movie posters. Melissa's Starlight Management had also grown, beginning to represent child actors besides Ava and becoming a reputable management company in the industry. Jessica had moved to Los Angeles a few months earlier and was working as a co-manager of the company. Mel, Ava's new movie press release has been approved, Jessica said, poking her head out from the office space. It will be released during the Christmas season. They're planning a major promotional campaign this time. Perfect, Melissa said. Please check the schedule and coordinate the interviews and promotional activities. Just then, Melissa's smartphone rang. It was an urgent message from Caroline. Melissa, can you talk? It's important. Melissa frowned. She occasionally kept in touch with her sister, but this was the first urgent message. She called Caroline. Caroline? What happened? Brad lost his job at the company. Caroline's voice sounded like she was about to cry. Dad's company is in financial trouble, and there were mass layoffs. I don't know what to do. Melissa sat down quietly in her chair. That's tough. Why was Brad fired? Wasn't he Richard's favorite? Her voice was calm, but there was irony in it. Dad's investments failed. The whole company is struggling, Caroline said. Brad will live on unemployment benefits until he finds a new job. But we might not be able to afford Noah's preschool. I see, Melissa said. That sounds difficult. After ending the call, Melissa tried to contact her parents, but Richard didn't answer, and Barbara only responded with a brief, "We're fine." She was concerned about the situation, but with Ava's movie promotion preparations keeping her busy, she didn't have time to think deeply about it. A few weeks later, another call came from Barbara. Melissa? Barbara's voice sounded tired. Richard's company is on the verge of bankruptcy. Melissa paused. For years, there have been investment losses. It wasn't Brad's failure, Barbara confessed. Richard made risky investments and depleted the company's funds. So, why are you calling me? Melissa asked. Barbara hesitated a bit before saying, You're successful, aren't you? Could you help us a little? Melissa looked out the window and calmly replied, Why don't you ask Caroline and Noah? You have a grandson, right? A grandson to carry on the family line. Caroline has her hands full with her own problems. Please, Melissa, Barbara's voice was pleading. I'll think about it, Melissa said and hung up. She sat in her chair for a while, lost in thought. How ironic. The parents who once treated her as second best and ignored Ava were now seeking her help. Melissa took a deep breath, stood up, and headed to the living room. Everything okay? Jessica asked with concern. Yes, just, family matters are getting a bit complicated, Melissa answered. But let's focus on the movie now. The promotional activities for Ava's movie Moonlight Adventure, Eternal Promise began, and she received significant attention as a child actor. An entertainment magazine featured a special article on Ava and Melissa, highlighting them as a success story of a single mother and her talented daughter. How did you discover Ava's talent? The interviewer asked Melissa. I always believed in her, Melissa answered. Some in my family couldn't see her value, but as a mother, I wanted to show her light to the world. Before Christmas, Melissa made a bold decision. She decided to invite her parents and Caroline's family to the movie premiere. Are you really inviting them? Jessica asked, surprised. Melissa replied, I want them to see Ava's success. As Melissa expected, her parents and Caroline's family gladly accepted the invitation. They arrived in Los Angeles the day before the premiere and stayed at a hotel Melissa had booked. On the day of the premiere, the red carpet in front of the TCL Chinese Theater was bustling with reporters and fans. When Ava appeared in a simple white dress alongside Melissa, camera flashes went off all at once. Ava. Look over here, the photographers shouted. Richard, Barbara, Caroline, Brad, and Noah, now 3, also appeared in formal attire. They pretended to celebrate Ava's success and posed for red carpet photos with the whole family. My granddaughter is blessed with talent, Richard told a reporter. We always believed in her. Melissa smiled faintly when she heard this. The movie screening was a huge success. Ava's acting captivated the audience, and loud applause filled the theater when the credits rolled. The private party after the screening was held at a luxury hotel in Beverly Hills. Industry professionals, cast, crew, and special guests gathered. As the party progressed, Brad seemed to have had too much champagne. He stood by the window, holding Noah, arguing quietly with Caroline. Why are you talking about this now? Caroline said irritably. Not here. Everyone should know, Brad's voice gradually grew louder, drawing the attention of those nearby. We're on the verge of bankruptcy. We might lose the big house and the cars. Melissa quietly approached the two. Is something wrong? Nothing, Caroline quickly answered, but Brad wouldn't stop. Richard instructed me to use company money for risky investments. When it failed, I became the scapegoat, he said, not caring about who was listening. I was just trying to save the company, and now I'm about to lose everything. Richard approached with an angry face. Brad, shut up. Please stop, Melissa said quietly. This is a public place. However, Brad was drunk and becoming more emotional. I've even used up Noah's college fund. There was never any savings for the grandson that Richard talked about. Caroline covered her face with her hands, while Barbara stood there looking embarrassed. With Jessica's help, Melissa managed to contain the situation. She took Brad to another room and gave him water. The party continued, but Richard and Barbara left early. The next morning, Melissa visited the hotel where her parents were staying. She knocked on the door, and Barbara opened it. "May I come in?" Melissa asked quietly. Barbara nodded silently and invited her into the room. Richard sat on the sofa, looking tired, staring out the window. "Last night was unfortunate," Melissa said. "Brad was drunk," Richard made excuses. What he said was exaggerated. Melissa looked him straight in the eye. "Please tell me the truth. What's happening with the company?" After a long silence, Richard spoke with a look of resignation. "It's going bankrupt. We'll lose everything within months. I've even used up our pension. We have to sell the house and move to an apartment," Barbara added. Her voice was trembling. Melissa thought for a moment before speaking quietly. "I can provide financial assistance. But there are conditions." Richard looked up. Hope gleamed in his eyes. "Anything, just say it. First, apologize to Ava. For ignoring her birthday, for treating her as a second-class grandchild, for everything," Melissa said calmly. Barbara nodded tearfully. "I'm sorry. We were wrong. And this isn't just about Ava," Melissa continued. "You've always treated me as second best too. You criticized my choices, my divorce, my parenting, everything." Richard bowed his head. "I understand. I was wrong. Next, I'll help Caroline and Brad too. But they must also acknowledge the truth. What was happening behind the facade of the perfect family," Melissa said. "What about Caroline?" Barbara asked. "I'll talk to her too," Melissa answered. "But let's start with an apology to Ava." That afternoon, when Ava returned from school, Richard and Barbara were waiting in Melissa's living room. Ava was a bit surprised but greeted them politely. "Ava," Richard said. "Grandpa and Grandma need to apologize to you." "For what?" Ava tilted her head. "We didn't come to your birthday party. And we haven't properly loved you," Barbara said, holding back tears. "We were wrong," Richard continued. "Being a girl doesn't make you any less valuable. Grandpa had old-fashioned ideas and didn't realize how hurtful they could be." Ava looked at them seriously before smiling gently. "It's okay. We're all family. Everyone is important." Melissa was touched by her daughter's kindness. After Richard and Barbara left, Melissa checked their debt situation in her study and developed a rescue plan. She also spoke with Caroline, promising to support her as a sister. A week later, Melissa formalized a financial agreement with her parents. It was a business arrangement, not based on emotions. "From now on, we will continue our relationship as a business," Melissa calmly told her parents. "Based on mutual respect, not emotions." She helped Richard and provided investment to rebuild the company. However, she placed restrictions on Richard's management decisions and hired financial advisors to supervise. Barbara and Richard had to sell their mansion in Tampa and move to a small apartment. Caroline and Brad similarly needed to downsize their lifestyle. Ava's movie was a hit during the Christmas season, and her popularity continued to rise. Through a Starlight Management, Melissa continued to provide opportunities for other talented children as well. At night, after Ava had gone to bed, Melissa sat on the terrace, gazing at the Los Angeles skyline. A notification appeared on her smartphone, and when she looked at the screen, it was breaking news from the Tampa Bay Times. The collapse of Richard Williams' real estate empire, local businessman restructures company after investment failures. Melissa read the article and quietly put down the phone. She took a deep breath and looked up at the starry sky. They say revenge is sweet, but what she had wanted wasn't revenge, but fairness. And slowly, that fairness was beginning to materialize. She returned to the living room and peeked into Ava's room. Her daughter was sleeping peacefully. On the bedside table, an award from her new movie gleamed. "You were the beginning of it all," Melissa whispered. "Your talent saved us." The morning sun poured down on the leafy residential area of Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. Melissa's new home was a two-story modern building with a pool and small garden in the backyard. She was brewing coffee in the spacious kitchen, gazing out the window. 2 years had passed. Ava had become one of the most successful child actors in Hollywood and had been nominated for a film award last month. Starlight Management had also achieved great success, gaining a top reputation in the industry, especially for managing child talents. Good morning, Jessica came down the stairs. She lived nearby but often stayed at Melissa's house the night before important meetings. Good morning, Jess, Melissa handed her a coffee cup. Ready for today's meeting? Yes, I've checked all the documents, Jessica replied. The new client is promising. I want to send her to audition for the next Disney movie. That's wonderful, Melissa said. Through the kitchen window, Melissa watched Ava and Noah playing in the backyard. Noah looked a lot like Ava. Caroline had divorced Brad and moved to Los Angeles with Noah. Melissa had hired her sister as an employee in the marketing department, giving her a chance for a fresh start. Ava seems to be teaching Noah acting tips, Jessica smiled. Outside, Ava was striking dramatic poses, and Noah was trying to imitate her. They were laughing, apparently performing an impromptu play. Noah has talent, Melissa said. Caroline is thinking about taking him to child actor auditions. That's wonderful, Jessica said. A family business, eh? Melissa smiled wryly. Yes, ironic, isn't it? Her cell phone rang, and Barbara's name appeared on the screen. Good morning, Mom, Melissa answered. Melissa, I wanted to confirm our flight, Barbara's voice had softened compared to before. We arrive at LAX tomorrow at 3 p.m. Yes, I'll send a car. Is Dad coming too? Yes, he's looking forward to it, Barbara answered. He can't wait for Ava's awards ceremony. All right. See you tomorrow. Melissa hung up and looked at Jessica. My parents are coming tomorrow. How many times is that in the last few months? Jessica laughed. Maybe the 4th time, Melissa shrugged. They've changed. Barbara and Richard lived in a small apartment in Tampa, leading a modest life. Richard had started working at a small real estate agency, and Barbara worked part-time at a local library. They visited Los Angeles several times a year to spend time with their grandchildren. Mom. Ava ran into the kitchen. Her cheeks were red from exercise. I taught Noah how to use the camera. He's really good at it. Is that so? That's wonderful, Melissa stroked her daughter's hair. When are Grandma and Grandpa coming? Ava asked. Tomorrow. They're coming for your awards ceremony. Ava smiled happily. I want to take Grandpa and Noah to the movie theater. There's a new animated film. I'm sure they'll love that, Melissa said. That afternoon, Melissa accompanied Ava to an interview at a studio. They were being featured on E! Entertainment Tonight, which would cover the success story of Ava and Melissa. Ms. Williams, in addition to your daughter's career success, your own company has also been growing rapidly, interviewer Sarah Jensen said. How are your family relationships? Melissa thought for a moment before answering. People can change. We're learning from the past and trying to build better relationships. Family bonds are complex, but I believe they can be repaired with love and understanding. After the interview, Melissa and Ava left the studio and got into the car where Caroline and Noah were waiting. How did it go? Caroline asked. It went well, Melissa said. Ava was her natural self, viewers will love her. On their way home, they stopped at a Los Angeles farmer's market. Ava and Noah selected fresh fruits, while Melissa and Caroline purchased organic vegetables. Can you believe it? Caroline suddenly said. That we'd end up like this? Like what? Melissa asked. Us. Working together as sisters, our children becoming best friends, Caroline said. After divorcing Brad, I thought I had lost everything. But you took me in. Melissa gently put her arm around her sister's shoulders. We're family. We've had difficult times, but now we're moving in a good direction. The next day, Barbara and Richard arrived in Los Angeles. They looked older than before, but their expressions were peaceful, with kindness showing on their faces. Grandpa. Grandma. Ava rushed to them as soon as she saw them at the airport. Richard embraced his granddaughter. You've grown so much. Just like a movie star. Are you coming to see the awards ceremony tonight? Ava asked. Of course, we wouldn't miss your big night, Barbara replied. That evening, Ava was nominated for Best Young Actor at the Golden Youth Awards. She wore a serene pastel blue dress and walked the red carpet with her entire family watching. Aren't you nervous? Richard asked his granddaughter. Just a little, Ava answered honestly. But I take deep breaths like when I'm acting. That calms me down. As the ceremony began and Ava's category was announced, Melissa squeezed her daughter's hand. When the envelope was opened and the winner is Ava Williams, was announced, the whole family cheered with joy. Ava went on stage and received the trophy. She seemed a bit nervous in front of the microphone but soon began speaking in a composed voice. My mom, who believed in me, without your love and support, I wouldn't be here. Grandma, Grandpa, thank you for loving me. Noah, thanks for always being my biggest fan. And everyone at Starlight Management, especially Aunt Jessica, thank you for always supporting me. The camera panned to Barbara and Richard in the audience, tears glistening in their eyes. At the reception after the ceremony, the family celebrated Ava's success. Richard approached Melissa and quietly said, Not attending Ava's birthday that day is my life's biggest regret. You are a wonderful mother, and I was a terrible father. Melissa looked at him. True remorse was evident on Richard's face. What matters is now. We can't change the past, but we can change the future, she said. Thank you, my daughter, Richard said with deep gratitude. A few weeks later, Ava's 10th birthday arrived. This time, the entire family gathered at Melissa's house. The living room was once again decorated with unicorn decorations, and a large cake sat in the center of the dining table. Happy birthday, Ava, everyone shouted as she blew out the candles. Richard approached Ava and handed her a carefully wrapped box. A special gift for you. Ava opened the box and pulled out a high-quality digital camera. She looked up at her grandfather with a surprised expression. You said you wanted to be a film director someday, Richard smiled. You can start with this. Ava hugged her grandfather. Thank you, Grandpa. Melissa smiled at the scene. She stood in the kitchen, gazing at the beautiful sunset outside the window. In her mind, it was as if a quiet narration was flowing. They say revenge is sweet, but sometimes the peace that comes from forgiveness is even sweeter. But that's only after the person has truly changed. Sometimes harsh lessons are needed to bring about that change. She turned around and observed the happy scene in the living room. Ava was using her camera to take family photos, and Noah was acting as her assistant. Caroline was cutting the cake, and Barbara was distributing plates. Richard was proudly watching his grandchildren. Mom, come join us for a photo. Ava called. Melissa smiled and joined the family circle. The camera timer was set, and everyone gathered on the sofa. The flash went off, capturing that moment forever. A new beginning, repaired bonds, and the true image of a family. Melissa thought to herself, it all started with Ava. Her presence changed us. That night, after Ava had gone to bed, Melissa sat on the terrace, looking up at the starry sky. Her cell phone vibrated, and a new text message arrived. It was from Caroline. Today was a wonderful day. Thanks to you, we're a family again. I love you, big sister. Melissa smiled as she replied, I love you too, little sister. She put down the phone and took a deep breath. Her heart was filled with peace. The journey that had begun with revenge had arrived at an unexpected place. A place of forgiveness and reconciliation. And that was the best gift from Ava's birthday.